Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm hoping you can hear me on the this webinar software. Welcome to MmIT's second one of these webinars over recent months. This one is Essential Tools and Technologies for the Library and Information Professional, which will take place over the next hour. We have three speakers, all MmIT colleagues of mine. I suppose I should introduce myself to start with. I'm Leo Appleton, Director of Library Services at Goldsmiths, University of London, and I've been involved in MmIT for some years now. I've been both Chair and Secretary in the past. I'm currently the Journal Editor, but it's also my pleasure to be chairing this webinar today. So we're seeing on the screen now some of my colleagues from the MmIT committee. So starting top left, we've got Virginia Power, who will be our first speaker. I will introduce Virginia in a moment. We're joined by Alison McNabb, who's our social media officer today. So Alison's going to be looking at Twitter, responding to any tweets that come in. Bear in mind our hashtag is, you can see on the screen there, #AskMmIT18. And Alison will look after the social media side of things. We've got Andy Tattersall from University of Sheffield. He'll be our second speaker, and then we'll be joined by Luke Burton from Newcastle Libraries, who will be our third speaker. So my role really is simply to introduce the speakers and to keep things flowing and keep them to time. So I'll be keeping a check on the stopwatch. Before we actually start the webinar proper, there's a couple of MmIT events I want to draw your attention to. MmIT is a special interest group of CILIP. You've all responded to our promotion, our advertisements for this webinar. You may or may not be members of MmIT. We're a special interest group of CILIP, and our mission really is to put on events and do research into and host a blog and create a journal around technology within the library and information profession. We're one of CILIP's cross-sectoral groups, so that means we're not specifically focusing on any particular library sector, which makes us quite a rich and actually quite a large group in as much as we're diverse. We cover all sectors because library technology and digitisation, digital and electronic resources impact and affect everybody working in library and information services. So we have a very broad remit. We like to, because we have that diversity in approach, we like to have a diverse approach to putting on events. Hence, practicing what we preach and putting on webinars, and we do host several other events around the year, and I'll tell you a little bit about a couple of those in a minute. We have an annual AGM. We have an open access journal which we publish 3 times a year, just hosted on the CILIP website, available to anybody. We will put on workshops and talks like this and webinars like this, and really we try and reach out and create as many outputs around library, multimedia and information technology as we can. So very quickly, I'll tell you about the forthcoming events that you can actually attend in person rather than log on and attend the webinar. On the 19th of March, it's not too far away, 4 weeks away, we've got an event called The Wisdom of the Crowd, Crowdsourcing for Information Professionals. So I think that's going to be fascinating and fantastic, finding out about the phenomenon of crowdsourcing, experience of crowdsourcing from the British Library, and some workshop activity as well. It's being held in the award-winning Heritage Key at the University of Huddersfield, and bookings are open now. So please do, if you enjoy this webinar or just you're generally interested in crowdsourcing, please do look us up online. We've got the URL there on the slide, and book tickets accordingly. We then, in April, will be following that with another workshop. It's only just been finalised in the last couple of days. This is a hands-on workshop that we're putting on jointly with the Academic and Research Libraries group in the South West. So this event is taking place in Exeter, and it's around using social media in the library. So a kind of up-to-date hands-on workshop around how we can make the most of our social media tools. So again, that will be available to book soon. We've not got a booking form up there yet, but do look out for that on the MmIT website or the MmIT blog. So if everybody's ready, we've done the preliminaries. What I will do now is move us on to our first speaker, who is my colleague Virginia. So Virginia Power.
Thank you, Leo.
And yes, I'll just give you a quick introduction, Virginia. So Virginia is a lecturer at the University of the West of England. She's worked in libraries for a long time. She's got lots of experience, and her particular interests are in technology for learning and open education. Virginia speaks a lot and presents a lot and writes a lot about open educational resources, and she's also currently a fellow PhD student where she's researching the role and impact of social knowledge and narrative in the use and reuse of open educational resources. With that, I shall hand over to Virginia, and she is going to tell us what her essential tools and technologies are in her information and library world. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you very much, Leo. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Get a thumbs up from somebody. That's lovely. That's great. A little bit quiet. Oh goodness. Right. Well, I'll try and whack up my my microphone to the highest I can go. So I'll put it really close to my mouth. So hopefully you'll be okay. I'll just check the mic. Okay, sorry I'm dropping in and out for some of you. I will keep going. Others are saying it's perfect, so that's good. Okay, let me get started then. As Leo says, I'm actually a PhD student as well as being a lecturer at the University of the West of England. And well, my first tool really I'm introducing is the KeepVid video converter, because I have found that incredibly useful. And basically what it says there, it helps you to convert your videos to any video audio format that you want to. And it is so quick. I was so impressed. I'm using NVivo for qualitative analysis. And that's a piece of software that's very sophisticated, and I was attending a training workshop and found that the room I was in was actually only set up to accept WMV files, and all my participants had very kindly, as I wanted them to, put it into MP4. So I immediately got on with converting so that I could at least play around with some of the coding. And this KeepVid, fantastic. It's free. You literally just go to that link there. That is the sort of the freebie version, and it's just so easy to use and very, very fast. So not only could I do it for my own video files for conversion, but I can also download it from YouTube, Facebook, and also Dailymotion. So there's lots of opportunities for taking other video outputs and changing them into a format that suits your particular needs. As I say, it's very easy to use. 3 steps. You find your file, you select the file type, and you select your format. You click start and you can watch it whirring away in literally seconds. On the website itself, there is lots of help and guidance with tips and tricks as usual and frequently asked questions. But to be quite honest, although it says that yes, you can upgrade to a pro version, I don't think most of the normal use would require that. The free version, as I say, is perfectly suited for my purposes, and I'm sure for the vast majority of what you might need to do. So that was my first one, and that is coming in extremely handy, as I say, for my own research. And that's sort of what it looks like. So you can actually see, literally, these are the 3 stages here. You add your file in there, so you can upload that from your desktop. You then select the file type you want to convert it to, and then what you want it actually to actually come out as, and you convert now, job done. So one to have a look at for sure. My second one is Wiki.edu, and I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with Wikipedia and all the other outputs, Wikimedia Commons and everything else, but this one I think sometimes does get overlooked. And it is an opportunity for students to actually write Wikipedia articles and to be empowered to do some editing in a supported environment. And I know that Wikipedia now has got lots of Wikimedians dotted around the country, people who are professionals who are very much embedded in the whole Wikipedia ethos. and they are there to help you with that. But if you aren't lucky enough to have one close by, or they're so busy they can't get to you, then do have a look at Wiki.edu. It is available online. It's free, again. Very simple link as it shows there. And what it does is, basically, you've got lots of opportunities to decide whether you want to embed it into a particular learning program. It doesn't have to be from an academic perspective. It could equally work extremely well for an information literacy session, for example, and to get the students actually realising they are contributing something to the body of knowledge. If you have students for whom English is a second language, then actually there is also the opportunity to perhaps set a task whereby they are translating those articles into different languages, or to create original media out of ideas that they've had that they can then upload into Media Commons. Sorry about that. I will try and keep my mic very firmly plastered to my face, as I think I was losing a few there. Right. Let me. Okay, so hopefully that's better. Apologies. Okay, so actually once you have understood how Wikipedia and Wiki.edu works, it's actually very straightforward. I myself have been to some really useful workshops on editing in Wikipedia, and that is incredibly helpful if you can get to one. But you can do the basics really easily, and from it you can develop your own lesson plans. And the students that I've been involved with in creating and editing articles have really enjoyed the experience. Huge amount of support materials, so you're certainly not alone in this. There is a massive community of practice around Wiki.edu, and as it says, there are lots of case studies to help you with the process. One particular initiative I did want to bring up, and this is just finished for this year, but all the materials are still there. I did just check before I came online. And that was Wikipedia Library, and I don't know if any of you took part in this, but it was one librarian, one reference. And it is Wikipedia's attempt to actually get all of us as library and information professionals to engage with Wikipedia and to support them with enriching the materials. So that's a separate link, but it ties in with the whole Wiki.edu ethos of editing materials, again, to enrich the body of knowledge. So do have a look at all that. Again, there's lots of helpful hints and tips on how to do this. I've got a raised hand. I presume Alison's looking into those for me, just in case there's a question. But that's a great one to go to, and a really fascinating way of engaging our students. And my final one may be familiar to a lot of you, and I have to be honest, Canva is something that I've really only just started to really use in earnest, and I absolutely love it because it is so straightforward. I'm a great one. I'm not a techie, but I love my technology in terms of shaping and enhancing my students' experience of learning, and this really does that. It works as online or as an iPad app, and again, as with most of these applications, it's free and premium. Yeah, and we've got a thumbs up from Caitlin. I just picked it up from University of Reading. Really versatile. Again, you can register via Google and your own account or via your institution, and I have a link there for you to do that. So you can use it as basically a graphic design platform. Most of us, I guess, are not actually graphic designers. I certainly am not. I got, I think, a 20% for my art one day, you know, when I was in secondary school. But with this, you can look very professional and be able to share your work with others, print and design fantastic things. And again, it is something that I've started to incorporate into my assessment for the students. So rather than them always having to produce essays, they're actually having to incorporate it into something quite visually stimulating and exciting, and they enjoy that. One point I will point out here is that images in Canva are not free, so the ones that are available there And in fact, someone has picked that up, Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. The problem with that, I think, is that they do have quite a lot of some stock images, but the vast majority now you do have to pay for. So be aware of that. I would always say either upload your own, obviously that's the safest way of all, or use Creative Commons search. You can type that into Google, and using that excellent portal into Flickr, again, Wikimedia Commons, all those sorts of people will have something that will give you can have for Creative Commons. You can have it for free use, either for educational use, or indeed there are some that you can get for commercial use as well. So then there are plenty, I do know plenty and plenty of other sites that you can actually download from, but I like Creative Commons search because it's quick and easy. I haven't got time to mess around, and if I need a picture of a cat, I can have thousands. How easy to use? Canva is very easy. If you're not quite sure what to do with it when you first go in there, you can play around. There's a little bit of a sandbox area, but also it can hold your hand all the way through the process. So there's plenty of support there. So fantastic, excellent tutorials. There aren't any case studies as such, but as I'm finding from the chat pane, a lot of people are already aware of Canva, and so there's always probably somebody perhaps on the side who might be able to help. And oh, that's interesting from Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. If you work for charity or a certain not-for-profit, you can get it for free.
Oh, Virginia, I think you've moved away from your microphone again.
I haven't. I'm right with it.
Okay.
It's right there.
Got you back.
Yeah, I've got it as close as I can without eating it. I promise you.
No, you're nice and loud again.
Okay. And then finally, this is what Canva looks like. This just gives you some idea of the range of outputs that Canva will help you with. And if you haven't had a chance to go in and look at that yet, then I would certainly urge you to do so. And that's pretty much me. I presume, are we taking any questions at this stage, Andy, or at the end?
Yeah, well, I think, Virginia, thank you very much for your presentation. I think while it's fresh in our minds, if anyone does have a question, then please do type the questions in, and Virginia can field them, if that's all right, Virginia.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll try and keep my mic as steady as possible.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm not seeing any questions appearing, so any questions or follow-up comments for Virginia? Or you might want to save them right until the end, and we'll see how much time we've got at the end.
There's just a couple here I can see, not sort of suggestions really. Something from Michelle on librarian design share. Again, that's a new one on me, and that's why I love these webinars, because we always pick up on new things ourselves, which is fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Michelle. And Mohammed has said, can we get slides emailed? They will be made available, Mohammed, so there won't be any problem in getting hold of the material. Probably be available on our blog, I take it. That's what normally happens.
Yeah, we can make sure the slides are available. We'll point to SlideShare from our blog. That will be fine. Yeah, so they'll all be available. Any final comments or questions for Virginia? If not, I shall move us on. Thank you again, Virginia, for sharing that with us. And I'm going to move us on to our second. Thanks, Virginia. I'll move us on to our second speaker, who is actually the chair of MmIT, and it's Andy Tattersall. I think most of you will probably know Andy in some form or other. He's an information specialist at the School of Health and Related Research at the University of Sheffield. That's more briefly known as SHAR. Andy gets involved in all sorts of kind of digital scholarship, learning, teaching and research, technology. He's done some pioneering work on MOOCs recently at the University of Sheffield, winning the Senate Award from the university. He's a senior fellow of the HEA. As I said, he's chair of this group of MmIT, and he's also very well known in the world of altmetrics. But I think his biggest accolade is being named in the JISC top 10 social media superstars last year in 2017. So as ever, we're very humbled to be in Andy's presence. And over to you, Andy.
I don't know how to follow that. Thank you.
No pressure.
No one should feel humble in my presence, trust me. I just want to follow up on what Virginia was saying, and I use Canva quite a lot. It is a fantastic tool, and the fact of its simplicity is brilliant. You don't need to know graphic marketing skills or anything like that. You just sign up for an account, and within 10 minutes you've made a very nice effective poster or social media blog or image. So it's a really, really good tool to use. It's one of my favorite tools in the last couple of years. So my 3 tools I'm going to cover, the first one being Wakelet. And Wakelet came to my attention as a potential replacement for Storify. Storify is going in May 2018. I'm sure there's many users in this webinar that use Storify, have used it as well. And I'm not entirely taken that Wakelet is an exact like for like, but you can export your Storify stories out of there into Wakelet, which is a useful thing, because that's one of the problems that we have with a lot of these tools, is that they're not particularly transferable. So we end up with things dumped into one pot, and then we start to panic when the actual website goes down, when the tool goes down. But Wakelet's very similar to things like Scoopit, and to a bit of an extent things like Pocket, that it allows you to curate content collectively, which is a really useful thing. So this is a good way to pull together all kinds of resources, which could be videos, social media. So it could be a tweet, it could be a YouTube video, it could be documents. It works on all browsers. There's also an Android and iOS version, and it's free. And it's just very, very simplistic in what it does. Scoopit's very similar in that you can curate different themes and different topics into one place, but this looks very nice in that it puts it into some kind of chronological long list. And I think it's the sort of tool that you'd use for perhaps short projects. So if you had something that you were putting together, a resource collection around a particular niche topic, then this is a very nice way to quickly do that. And you can put in your own text, you can give it your own title, and you can put in descriptive text. Then you can then share that. You can make it private as well, so you can do this for your own personal research. So it's quite a very, very adaptive tool in that you could use that for your own professional development, or you could use it to build resources that you could then share with colleagues, you could share with students, anybody that you wanted. So they say you can make these collections private, you can save and share the links to your own collection, and of course you will be able to discover content in Wakelet in the same way that you can do in some of these other curation type tools. It's very easy to use. You just sign in. Sign in is pretty straightforward. You can create an account in a few moments, or sign in via Google, and you can start pasting URLs into your collection page, and then you can give your actual page a banner as well. So you can make make several of these and then put them together. There are support pages. There's a Twitter at Wakelet Support, and there is an email at support@wakelet.com. There isn't particularly a great deal of support materials beyond that, because it's one of those tools that does what it says on the tin, really. It's a simplistic, quite basic tool. So here's one that I've actually created. There's a bit.ly, if you look onto this slide here, there's a bit.ly address, 2ES, I think that is an I, or an L, VGE. If you go there, the actual tools that we've covered today, including an extra one, I was going to add Cialo, and I definitely advise you to have a look at that as well. Cialo looks very interesting. It's a way of having informed discussions, so you can have arguments pro Pro, and again, so it's quite a good way to kind of thrash out various ideas and get to the bottom of problems. So it's something that might be worth you sharing with the colleagues and with students if you work with students. But I just created this very quickly. It took me 10 minutes to put the tools in, and they're there. And again, like any of these tools, you can follow a person. You can start to see what they are actually. You can start to see what other people are saving and what they're doing with it as well. And follow those. You can share and favourite. So it's got all those functionality that you actually see with an awful lot of tools these days. So it's pretty straightforward. And thanks to CILIP for copying up the actual URL there for the actual collection of resources. So like I say, you can import as well. There's an option if you do a search for import your Storyfy stories into Wakelet. So there is an option for those users out there, and what you need to do is just do a verification step and then put your Storyfy username into the box, and you're away you go. So it's for those people, like I say, you can't sign up for Storyfy now, and I think existing users can create them until May, but after May it will go. So that's a shame. This next tool isn't a free one, and I'm very much an advocate of free tools and technologies. I had to kind of make my way, like many of us in the profession, by cobbling together free tools and technologies, but I think this is one that's actually worth paying for. It has gone up in price recently, but they've actually changed to a new iteration, so there's a new version of the software that I'm using. One of the things that many of us have to do in this webinar is deliver training and do what I'm doing right now. And there are free screen capture tools out there which are pretty good, but I would like a little bit more manipulation with what I'm capturing, and a few more editing options and a few more exporting options, and also have the ability to capture images in really good high quality. I noticed that Catherine's mentioned Screencast-O-Matic. I use that for creating screencasts of presentations, but this is purely, I use the Snagit to actually capture the photos. So it works on PC and a Mac. If you buy multiple copies, it's cheaper than the £38. I think it was about $25 when I bought it. It's made by TechSmith, who are the people who make Camtasia as well, which is another good screen capture tool. Screencast-O-Matic is absolutely fantastic for the price. The 3-year license is brilliant. But I say for the amount of screen captures I do of images as part of training slides, it's important that I try and get as best quality as I can. So you can use this to create high quality editable screenshots for teaching and training materials, for your marketing and awareness materials. It's a very intuitive tool. You can easily rectify mistakes, and then there's multiple options for editing images, adding text, putting in speech bubbles, putting in highlighting. So if you want to do some form of a tutorial and you need to take shots of a image, and that could be a PDF document, it could be a website, it could be anything. It allows you then to actually annotate those within the software, save the image, and you can export into a variety of different ways. So it's got a lot of functionality. I don't know if it's better than Jing. Someone's asked if it's better than Jing, which is also made by TechSmith. It might be one of those examples where they have a couple of the same pieces of software they use for the same job, but I do like it a lot. They've added a whole new load of functionality with the latest version. I've had my piece of software for about 2 years. You can pay to upgrade, so if you've got an older version like myself, you can pay to upgrade. But you can also, with the new version, export your captures to third-party websites and applications, making it easier for sharing. And you can see there's lots of things here: Microsoft Word, YouTube, Excel, PowerPoint, Google Drive, Camtasia, Dropbox, OneNote, Twitter. So there's a lot of new functionality. I might bite the bullet and see if my department will pay for my upgrade, which is about £12, to move me onto this latest version. The last tool I'm going to talk about, I think, is an absolutely fantastic tool for creating things like writing retreats. I run regular writing sessions. I run a weekly 2-hour write club where I get academics, PhD students together and get them to write in silence, just to do focused, concentrated writing. And I also run daily boot camps. So I run a boot camp every couple of months where I take a bunch of around 20, 25 of us off and we go and write somewhere together in a computer lab. One of the issues around trying to write and concentrate on concerted pieces of work, and this is things for ourselves, if we're having to write reports, or if we're trying to encourage our students to write, or colleagues, trying to give them protected time, is staying focused on task. Email is intrusive, social media is intrusive. We always have some distraction at our fingertips, and if we lose the actual focus we're on, it can take a while to get back. So this is based on the Pomodoro technique, which is a really good technique where you work in chunks of time on a task, and that task could be reading, it could be writing, it could be coding, it could be anything. And Forest works on Android and iOS app, and it's a Chrome extension. It's totally free, and what it does is on the desktop or the laptop you may be using, it will block out, such as email and any other platforms and sites you want to block out. So if you want to block out Facebook, you just put that in, and then what it will start to do is it will start to grow a tiny little sapling on your screen. If you put it on your tablet or your phone, it will do the same thing. You set a time that you want to write, so you say I want to write for 25 minutes, put it on my iPad, and then let this sapling grow. And when I run the writing retreats, I connect my devices up to the screens in the room and then allow people to see these little saplings grow. So you start to work, and then the temptation might creep in to check your email, to check Facebook, etc. And if you try and come out of Forest, if you try and actually come out of it in Chrome on the email, it will ask you whether you want to kill the sapling, and of course you're going to feel a little bit bad about killing a sapling. So it does work. It actually keeps you to task. It makes you realize that if you're working in 25-minute chunks like a Pomodoro, that actually 25 minutes isn't a long time. So actually staying to task is harder than you think, but beneficial if you have that little conscious plug that's going on, that little kind of thing sitting on your shoulder. I do think that at some point, if Forest doesn't work for some people, they might have to develop an app called Kitten, because that may be a bit more effective. So you put down your phone, you focus on what you're doing, and you start off here in the left with this little sapling, and then you grow a tree. So throughout the day, if you do say 6-7 sessions, you'll grow a tiny little forest. If you stop partially through, your tree will be killed, and this is what you get. So it's a very psychological experiment, but it does work. So you can use it on all kinds of projects, working without the distraction of email. Superb for hosting writing and reading retreats, and for peer support, and as someone said here, really good for getting things like your chartership done. And you set the time you actually want to work. I work in 25-minute chunks, which is the Pomodoro style, but you can do whatever, 20 minutes, whatever works for you. There's no support materials. There isn't any need for any. It's just a very simple tool. There are others out there, things like 30/30 app, etc. So there's plenty of tools like that. So you can use it, say, studying in the library. It's really good for perhaps encouraging students who may want to come into silent spaces, focus and work. Encourage them, show them how to use it and how to apply it with the Pomodoro technique. Another good thing is that you can pay for upgrades with this app. You can buy different plants, different bushes, and different trees, and the actual Forest team do work with a real tree planting organisation called Trees for the Future. So they plant real trees. So as people spend their virtual coins, you gain coins for the more trees you plant. You can cash these in, and as you actually make donations and actually pay for upgrades, then that money is paid forward for actual trees. So it's environmentally a good tool. So that is my 3 tools. So I'm going to hand over now to Leo, who's going to introduce Luke.
Thanks very much, Andy. Fascinating as ever. Thanks for sharing your tips and your essential tools. Before Andy signs off there, any questions or follow-up comments for him? There's quite a few comments going along as you were speaking, Andy, and I think by the looks of it, the people who are participating in the webinar are discovering new tools thanks to you and Virginia. So that's great. That's exactly what we want. Okay, well, let us move on to our third and final speaker today. Again, my pleasure to introduce another of the MmIT committee colleagues, this time Luke Burton. Luke is the Digital Transformation Manager for Newcastle City Council. He has a remit that goes way beyond libraries, but he has obviously a lot to. He is a librarian and has worked in library technology and library development over the years. Luke's particularly interested, his main themes of interest are copyright, open data, new technologies and culture change within organisations. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Luke, who will now share with us his essential tools and technologies for the library and information professional. Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks. Hi there, everyone. Quiet there, I'm just going to check on my... Hopefully that's a bit better for everyone. Sorry, can anyone hear? I've got my volume up on.
I can hear you very clearly, Luke.
Okay, well, I'll keep going as I am then.
Yeah, so that's good.
I'm going to start with my first resource, which is OpenRefine, and it was formerly known as Refine. Essentially, it's a powerful tool for working with messy data. It's really I find it really useful in the past for trying to work with new data sets, and it's a free downloadable piece of software. It runs on Linux, Mac, and Windows, and I just find it's really helpful if you're used to working with spreadsheets and trying to clean up some data sets that are not so tidied. You can go to the website, and there's a whole load of really useful information on the website. And like I say, it can be used. You import the data you need, so you download a piece of software to your desktop, and you then work on it from there. You can find blank files. You can look at null data. You can look at issues that you have with it. So I recommend it really for that sort of getting used to handling data. It does take some familiarization for it, but if you've got a good knowledge of spreadsheets and CSV files, then it can be it'll be useful for you. There's tons of supporting material for it. So there's a book that goes along with it, and there's lots of stuff on the website that's really helpful. And there was actually an event that was running in Liverpool towards the end of last year where there was a presentation on it. There's the link there to the data traders site. Should be useful for you. It also forms part of the library carpentry program that's happening, and I recommend also having a look at library carpentry and data carpentry as well, in the wider sense of looking at data. So, like I said, this is a really useful piece of software for working with and manipulating data. It can be as complicated or as simple as you like, but there's a lot of help material that goes along with it, and it can be really useful. The second thing I wanted to look at was really just an app, mainly as I've used it, but it is available on a number of platforms. A lot of you are possibly familiar with it, and other similar ones, products that are available. Microsoft Lens, which is effectively an app that turns your smartphone into a scanner. I quite often find it really useful when at presentations, or if we run a lot of Agile workshops here, and running Agile workshops, you want to capture either the post-it notes that are on the wall or flip charts. So Microsoft Lens takes images of document types, and it then manipulates them so that it saves it in the multiple formats. So it works on various platforms, Android, iOS. Being a Microsoft product, they do say that it does work on Windows phones for as long as they're still around or supported, and it also works on Windows 10. It's free, downloadable from whichever of your preferred app stores and from Microsoft.com. What it's really useful for is you select your document type, so it takes a digital copy, and that can be whiteboards, flip charts, all sorts of things. And then you can create a digital copy and save that to either OneNote or OneDrive as a PDF, or a Word document. And I've not tried it particularly, but the printed text is automatically recognised using OCR, so it should hopefully be really useful for recording information and documents you've got. It's dead easy to use. It's simply a point and click, and it can be shared across multiple ways. So obviously being an app, it integrates with your smartphone of choice. There is quite a lot of support material as well available from the website, but like I say, it's really, really simple to use, and it's a really useful way of collecting that information that when you're in meetings or workshops that you want to just get a snapshot of what you've got. So that's Microsoft Lens. There are others. This integrates with this stuff, but there are other ones around. Some of the Evernote products do it as well, and there are other ones that are out there. But it's definitely worth looking at that for you. Someone's just asked about storing the images. So once you've got it, you need to then save it somewhere. So it's usually a case of saving it to a location like OneDrive, OneNote, or you can email it or send it to yourself in other formats. It's integrated through the app in that way. And then finally, I wanted to just quickly mention the third thing I wanted to talk about was what 3 words. It was actually something that I had suggested mentioning the last time that we ran this webinar, and we were obviously clear that we wanted things to be about that were of use to people, and I thought it was interesting from sort of something different, irreverent point of view, but actually having used it a bit more recently, I find it does have practical uses, and I think it might be of interest to some people. So what 3 words is a mapping service that is actually a brief TED talk about this as well on the guys, the people who developed it. But basically the developers of it have divided the world into 3x3 meter squares, and then they've assigned each of these 3x3 meter squares a unique 3-word address. And they designed it more specifically for use in places where the addressing system or the postcode system is complete as it is in some countries. It's been heavily used in places like Ghana. Mongolia have used it for their postal system, and it's been used in Finland as well. But it works. There's an app version that's available through Android and iOS, but it's also available through web browsers. It's a free service to use, and the link's there to take you to the website for it. But you may not be able to see too clearly here, but this is a snapshot of the building that I'm in, and it gives at the bottom here there's a 3-word address for that location. And what particularly it can be useful for is that although you might have something like the unique building reference number, a postcode, something like that, this actually gives you can give you multiple locations for a single building. So for example, in this building here where I am, we have more than one entrance, and for saying to people which entrance that or where to meet, it can be useful for that. It could also be useful for sites that have a similar address, so campuses or large buildings. You know, if you're trying to give someone somewhere that's not either mapped by one of the bigger services like Google or Apple Maps, then this could give you a useful one for finding buildings. So we've got 2 universities here in the city and a large hospital, which can be difficult to find the exact place you're looking for. So if you can share that what's location, it gives you location for again, it's easy to use in terms of it being as easy as other mapping services can be, but there are additional options for developers, and I think there's the option you can post your have them on a sticker in a window, and obviously it relies on using that service across other as well as use to get that information. But I think being able to have it available and more readily used, it might be more interested people. So on the one hand, what 3 words can just be interesting to find out exactly where you're sitting or where your location is from a bit of a fun point of view, but the fact that you can get that more accurate information for specific buildings, is powerful too. So those are my 3 tools to talk about. What 3 words is a bit of fun in some cases. Information from storage and open messy date. And I'll hand you back to Leo.
Okay, thank you very much, Luke, for your presentation there. Unfortunately, I don't think everyone was able to fully hear you. I think you were faint for some people, but loud and clear for others, and we're not entirely sure why that's the case. But I'm pleased to see through the chat that even the people who may be not hearing you clearly, we're still following the slides and conversing with each other. Does anybody have any follow-up questions or follow-up comments for Luke or the tools, or maybe things that people were unclear of because of the audio? We could maybe I could field some answers through Luke. There's a couple of people typing, so I'll just let them type. Oh no, Lizzie's just saying thank you to the people who can hear Luke and filling us in with the detail. Well, thank you again, Luke, and thank you to Andy and thank you to Virginia. I've really come to the end of the webinar now, and thank you everybody for participating. Thank you very much for our speakers for presenting and sharing their tools and techniques for library information professionals. Thank you also for the 140 or so of you who have tuned into the webinar. That's quite an overwhelming response, and we thank you for your participation and for making it work. We will be looking to put more of these on, and there's a feedback form for you all to complete if you'd be happy to do so. Do fill it on. We're displaying the URL for that now, so if people could fill the feedback form out, that will help to inform well, our events in the future and also other content for webinars such as this. So with that, I think it's down to me to wind us up and sign us off. So thank you very much again to everyone for participating, firstly to our speakers and also to our participants. And I hope to see you all at various MmIT events in the future. Thanks everybody. Bye now.
Just say if anyone's still here, I've copied and pasted, I think, the form into the webinar, so I know there's still 60 of us here. So if you can give us some feedback, that would be great.